everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to discuss about the integumentary system. Integumentary system consists of the skin and associated structure such as hair, nail and several glands. But before moving forward, if you are new here, please like and subscribe to this channel and don't forget to hit the notification bell. So let's continue. The integumentary system actually primary of cutaneous membrane and is composed of superficial epidermis and a deeper dermis layer. And below to the dermis is the underlying layer, that is the hypodermis. So basically there are three layers: epidermis, dermis and hypodermis. And as you all know that skin is the largest organ and is vital for the temperature regulation, protection, and it also provides or help you to prevent water loss, and it protect you against the infection either from the bacterial or the fungal infection. Now let us discuss each of the layer one by one. So the most of the epidermis is made up of keratinocytes, and this is the thin outermost layer of the skin and act as a waterproof barrier and contributes to skin tone. Maybe you are having a darker skin or the lighter skin. So these keratinocytes of the epidermis are basically composed of the organized stratified squamous epithelium, and these are tuft structure just because of the presence of the keratin protein. So um, this is the superficial layer of the organ or the human body, and next to this is the dermis located beneath the epidermis, and the dermis contains the connective tissues, blood vessels, hair follicles, sweat glands and the nerve endings. The epidermis has a number of layers, or you can say the multiple layers, and these layers are called the strata. And if it's a single, then you can call it as a stratum. So the epidermis does not basically have blood vessels between the cells, but is nourished by the vessels in the dermis. So when we talk about the different layers of the epidermis, that is when we talk about the strata of the epidermis, then the deepest layer of the epidermis is known as the stratum basal, and it is attached to the dermis by basement membrane, and the cells divide here repeatedly and push up towards the superficial layer as the cells increase in age. Next to this is the melanocyte. The melanocyte present in the stratum basal and is produce melanin pigment. As you know that the melanin provides the protection against the UV rays, and melanin are of two types: pheomelanin and eumelanin. Eumelanin, if produced into the body, then it provides you the dark skin, and it basically provide more protection against the UV radiation and prevent you against the oncogenesis. And the pheomelanin is mainly the less production of the melanin, termed as the pheomelanin, and it gives you the lighter skin. This is little bit less this pheomelanin provides you the less protection against the UV radiations. So the melanocytes are relatively constant in people, but production of the melanin varies. And next to the melanocyte is the stratum spinosum, and this is present in between the stratum granulosum and the stratum basal, and they provide strength and flexibility to the skin and allow the keratinocytes to get mature. And next to the stratum epinosum is the stratum granulosum, and stratum granulosum basically uh, forms a waterproof barrier, and it maintains the moisture in the body, and the keratinocytes here matures and produce keratinohyaline granules. And after that the stratum granulosum is the layer known as the stratum lucidum, and this is basically a thick skin, and they are basically present in the palm of hand and soles of the feet, and it basically appears translucent, as you can see in your palm. The color of your skin is translucent comparative to the other part of the body. Next to the uppermost layer or the outermost layer is the stratum corneum, and this stratum corneum provides a protection, and these are basically consist of the dead cells, and from the outer side it is flattened at a surface and made up of keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, just because of the presence of or the production of the keratin protein here. This is the overall representation of the integumentary system. As you can see here, this region is the epidermis, then the dermis and the hypodermis. It is composed primarily of the or the closely opposed fibers, along with the blood vessels, nerves, sensory organs or the receptors, hair follicles, glands. So these were the different parts of the dermis. The dermis basically consists of two major regions: the superficial papillary layer and the deeper reticular layer. And these papillary layer is so named for the papillae bumps that interdigitate with the epidermis, providing good adhesion between the two layers. The reticular layer is the largest layer of the dermis. The majority of the fibers of the dermis are irregularly arranged collagenous, along with the lesser number of the elastic and reticular fiber. The collagenous fiber provide strength, flexibility. The elastic fibers, as the name implies, provides elasticity to the skin. Blood vessels here occurs in the dermis and brings nutrition to the body, dermis and epidermis. And the blood vessels do not penetrate the epidermis, but the nutrients and the oxygen these vessels carry diffuse from the dermis into the nearby cells of the epidermis. The dermal blood vessels are important in that they release heat to the external environment. As the internal temperature of the body core rise, the blood vessels of the dermis vasodilate and allow heat to radiate from the skin. In cold weather, the vessels constrict, the decreasing the blood flow to the dermis, which conserves heat in the body core. So nerves in the dermis receive sensory input and transmit the impulse to the central nervous system. Sensory information is received by numerous structures such as light, touch, the receptor of the dermis. Two of these are the tactile corpuscles and in the upper portion of the dermis, and the tactile disc located in the upper dermis and the lower epidermis. So the lamellar touch the or you can say the sense the pressure, such as when you lean against a wall or feel a vibration. Other receptor in the skins are warm receptors and cool receptors. When you are at a comfort in a comfortable temperature, or both of these receptors are firing, and if you increase or decrease the skin temperature beyond the range of these receptors, pain receptors are stimulated, and the pain receptors are naked nerve ending in the dermis that responds to the numerous environmental stimuli. So these were the different receptors that were present in the dermis region of the skin. If we talk about the hypodermis is also known as the subcutaneous tissue, and it is the layer of the layer deep to the dermis and consists of a dense irregular connective tissues, adipose tissues, nerve, blood vessels, and sense receptors. Hypodermis attached to the dermis by collagenous and elastic fibers, and they are loosely attached to the dermis in front portion of the neck, and in sole of the feet it is dense and strongly attached to the adjacent tissues. Next, if we talk about the glands present in the dermis and hypodermis region, so there are several glands that are present in these two layers, and the two broadly distributed glands are the sweat gland, that is also called as pseudiferous gland, and the sebaceous gland. So these two glands are very important glands in our body, and if we differentiate two glands, Then first, if we talk about the pseudiferous gland, then these glands basically is the secretory part, or they are also called as the sweat gland because they secrete sweat in the body and are composed of simple cuboidal epithelium and the connective tissues. And they are of two types: the eccrine and the apocrine sweat gland. The eccrine is also called as marrocline gland and are the most common and is sensitive to the temperature. And if you talk about the apocrine sweat gland, so these basically secrete water and in a higher concentration of the organic acid, and they produce pungent body odors. And if we talk about the structure of these glands, then in terms of the structure, these glands are tubular in shape and with a duct opening directly into the skin surface, producing watery sweat, and these watery sweats are pungent in odor. Next, if we talk about the sebaceous glands, so these are associated with the hair follicles and are larger than the sweat glands, and they secrete an oily material called the sebum. Like you can feel this into your head, uh, and this sebaceous or the sebum glands lubricate the hair, decrease the wetting action of the water on the skin. And if we talk about the structure of the sebaceous gland, so these glands are small sac like and are located within the dermis and associated with the hair follicles. So this is the diagram you can see here. The this uh, this is the diagram of the sweat gland, and here you can see here the pore of the sweat gland, from where the water or the sweat can be released out at the surface of the skin. Figure here represents the microscopic image of the glands, the glands like the sweat gland and the sebaceous gland, both in the same figure. And the image B, this one, represents the sweat gland. As you can see here, this is the dermis area and this is the hypodermis region, and these are the sweat glands. And the image C here represents the sebaceous gland. As you can see here, these are the sebaceous glands. These are the microscopic image of the integumentary glands. So this was all about the integumentary system. Thank you so much.